Hi, this is Lori Cope from Manville, Texas, and you're listening to Bad Dog Agility, where the naughty dogs train.
I'm Esteban.
And I'm Sarah.
And this is episode 3.
Esteban, I am really excited about our new intro.
You may have noticed that our show today was introduced by Lori Cope of Manville, Texas.
And we'd like to have you introduce our next podcast.
Just go to our website at baddogagility.com and look for the big orange button on the right-hand side. Click on the button and follow the instructions. We give you a couple of different scripts to choose from, including your name and city or your name and business or website. We'd like to thank you, our audience, for making us the #1 dog agility podcast in iTunes.
I think we're actually the only one.
That may be true, but several hundred people did listen. Thank you for all the messages and comments, both on our Facebook page and our website. Remember, you can like us on Facebook to keep up with our training articles and videos.
We hope to get this podcast out once a week. Our plan is to post each new podcast on Thursdays, just in time for your agility trip on, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so that we can help keep you awake on those long drives to the dog show.
To follow up on our last episode, we heard back from Desiree, the handler for Stinger and Pace.
In the last episode, we were debating what kind of contact Desiree had. I thought it was probably a running contact just based on the times alone, but Esteban thought it had the look of a quick release.
Who was right?
You were right. Anyway, on to today's training topic. One of the best ways to preserve your start line stay in agility training is to never ask for it.
That is profound.
It is. Okay, I don't mean never ask for it, but I have a lot of students that feel like they have to start every sequence from a control position, like a sit or a down. Otherwise, their dog is breaking. And what I always tell them is, if you haven't asked for it, then it's not breaking. It's perfectly fine for you to start a sequence either running with your dog, like hand in the collar, or to get somebody else to hold your dog so you can lead out to wherever you need to be on course.
I think I understand what you're saying. A lot of our dogs, they're excited, they want to do agility, and they're going to be highly likely to break their start lines. And as a good trainer, you're not going to let that happen. If they break, you're going to go back, set them up again, withhold your reward, and that kind of takes up class time, and it prevents you from doing what you really drove all that way to do, and that's to do some agility. I think there's a lot of incentive for the handler to say, hey, maybe I'll let that one slide. I'll let the dog get up, scoot a little bit. Maybe stand up, creep toward that first obstacle, as long as I can go ahead and get this sequence done. This way the person waiting behind me, isn't upset. I don't take up too much of the valuable instructor's time, and I can get on with the agility part. It's really hard to focus on two very different skills at the same time. When you're leading out on an agility sequence, you're kind of trying to remember the course and where you need to be, and it's hard to keep an eye on your dog and decide right on the spot, right away, are they meeting their criteria for their start line stay or not, and do I need to do something about it? Having someone hold them takes all of that away and really lets you focus on the agility.
I think where it really pays off is where you're working on a very new skill, because your dog is already maxed out mentally, and they're trying to figure out what you're working on, what you're asking of them, and sometimes doing those two things together is just a little bit too much. That's a great time. When you're introducing something new, that's a great time to have somebody hold your dog so that your dog can really concentrate on this new skill rather than using all of their mental energy on their sit.
That's a great point. If you go to Bad Dog Agility and you take a look at our training articles and the videos that we have there, I've started a series with my puppy, 10-month-old Border Collie puppy, in agility, and you'll see that in every single video I have someone holding her at the start line. Now, that's not always going to be possible. Some people train by themselves. They don't have a helper available to them, and, that's a different situation. But if you can get someone out there to help you, I think it really goes a long way towards speeding up the learning process for your young dog.
I remember you having a helper because I think I was that helper.
Blonde, blue-eyed.
Baby on the back.
Baby on the back. And now we've got a great agility topic for discussion. Sarah, tell the audience what they've won.
Today we're going to be talking about online agility classes.
As most of you are probably aware, there's been a recent explosion in the availability and popularity of online agility courses.
There's a lot of reasons for that. There's some very big pros to taking an online class. One of the biggest is the availability of instructors that you might not be able to train with normally.
You mean you live far away from the person you want to train with?
Exactly. You also get to go at your own pace, which is a big pro, especially if you have other demands on your time.
Okay, and what else?
Another pro is the reference materials that you get. There will be a lot of printed materials that go with an online course, probably some videos. And for those of us that can't remember on the spot what our instructors are telling us, it's great to be able to go back and watch and rewatch these videos or read the explanations over and over again.
Now, what's a downside to taking an online agility class?
Well, you do have to provide your own field and your own equipment. So depending on what you have at your house or at your local training club, that could be a real big downside for you.
Okay, I can understand that. What else?
The other con for some people is going to be that you need to be familiar with video editing software, feel very comfortable editing video and getting it up onto the web, usually onto something like YouTube. And for some people who haven't been using this technology, that's going to be a little bit of a barrier to entry.
I think there's probably a definite selection bias here. Even when you take a look at our audience, you're listening to this podcast, you're probably more familiar with the internet and computers than the general population.
That's right.
To help you navigate all these online course offerings that are out there now, we've come up with 5 tips for you to think about when you're considering joining an online class.
All right, let's start with tip number 1.
Have a goal. Don't just take a class because the instructor is someone who's well known. You probably need to have some way to benefit from the class. If you need help with your weave poles, don't take a class on foundation handling. Go and find someone who's going to show you how to weave. If you're interested in running contacts, take a course from someone who's offering running contacts. Find what you're looking for. Fill the need that you and your dog require.
Yeah, well, one of the pros and the cons of these online classes is the availability and the fact that you can take them wherever you are. And so sometimes it's really easy to feel like because it's there, I must take it. You don't want to get left out. You don't want to miss out on that knowledge. But, if it's not the right class for you, if it's not the right timing for you and your dog based on your goals or the age of your dog, then, it might be better to just wait and see what's coming on down the line. Tip number 2, be sure you understand the format of the class. There are going to be some classes where you get a lot of personal feedback, where you upload a video of your dog doing a sequence and you're going to get feedback from the instructor who watched your video. There are going to be other classes where there are assignments and there's information being put out there for you, but there's not necessarily that feedback coming back. So what you're paying for there is the information. There might be a forum in addition that's moderated where you can get some help from the instructor or from other students, but it's not as much individual feedback. And you need to understand that going in so that your expectations are set appropriately. In addition to whether or not you're going to get feedback, you should probably understand, how much homework there's going to be, what the frequency is going to be of the homework assignments so that you know what kind of time commitment you're making.
Those are some very good points. There's a wide range of types of courses that are available with all different levels of feedback, and we're not saying that any one type is better than the other. Just be aware of what's being offered and make sure that it matches up with what you're expecting. Number 3. Limit yourself to one class, or maybe 2 classes.
Or maybe 1 class.
Or maybe one class.
This is something we have personal experience with. Esteban has a tendency to sign up for more than one class and not get, shall we say, the full value of that class.
Well, it turns out that life happens. We can use ourselves as an example, since you're doing that already. We both work full-time. We have 2 small children, including a 2-year-old who thinks she's the Incredible Hulk. And we've got a lot of things to do. Weekends are full of dog shows and little kids' birthday parties. And even when you're in a course where assignments come every other week or every third week, before you know it, it's time for that next assignment. And once you fall behind, it's kind of hard to pick back up. The bottom line is, it's a time commitment. It takes time to video your training sessions, to edit them, put them on your computer, upload them to YouTube, submit them, read the feedback, ask your follow-up questions, and plan your next training sessions. It can get involved, and if you're doing more than one course, you might find that it's a little difficult.
Tip number 4, think about the cost and maybe even consider auditing. A lot of these courses are going to offer an auditing option that would definitely bring the cost down, but of course then you're not going to get that feedback that you might otherwise get in the class.
There's been a lot of discussion about the cost of some of these courses, and I think that everybody has to take a look at their own budget and decide for themselves what they can afford and what it means to them and their dog as far as where they are and what they're looking for. If you have a dog, everything is going fantastic, and you're interested in running contacts, for example, I think it would certainly be worth it for you to go out and get the kind of instruction that you want, that you need to be competing at that level that you want.
And a lot of times these courses are more comparable to, say, a seminar, where you're getting the same information you might get at a 2-day seminar, but spread out over 2 or 3 months. And so when you think about the cost of doing a seminar plus travel plus hotel, then a lot of times the online course can make a lot of sense for you.
So take a look at your budget, see where you're spending your money. You may sit out a couple of shows in order to get the online course that you want, knowing that in the long run, over the next 5 or 6 years, your young dog is going to have a more competitive career because you sat out a couple shows to get the kind of information and knowledge and feedback that you really needed at that time. Tip number 5.
Be open to the possibilities. If you haven't dipped your toe in the ocean of online classes yet, be open to the idea, because I really don't think they're going anywhere. I think we're going to see more and more online classes over the next couple of years, and it's a trend that's going to be around for a while. All right, so to sum up, tip number 1, have a goal. Tip number 2, be sure you understand the format. Tip number 3, limit yourself to 1,
or maybe 2,
or maybe 1 class at a time. Tip number 4, think about the cost. And tip number 5, be open to the possibility of online classes.
We hope you enjoyed episode 3 of our podcast, and be sure to visit us at baddogagility.com and like us on Facebook.
Happy training!